quick question for you. There is any way to select gameness without the old traditional ways when it comes to the American Pit Bull Terrier or any other breed?
I cannot answer you about any other breed, but I can answer you definitely about the American Pit Bull Terrier. I have a feeling you want to make this a serious when you ask me questions, right? All right.
No, first I want to. First, I have to ask you: do you think that any other breed have the same level of gameness uh, like the American Pit Bull
So
Terrier?
you're asking more than one question.
Yes.
Okay. Let me answer the first question. A lot of people, first of all, a lot of people don't know nothing about gameness is because they never actually lived it. So they have an opinion about something that they never seen it with their own eyes, or maybe they seen it on a video, but they didn't felt it. There's a lot of things that are felt by the handler, that are felt by the people that are live. You can freeze this on a video. That's one thing that you must know. It's preserved to the people that actually understand gameness. And a lot of people can see it live and do not understand really what gameness. Gameness comes in levels, okay? I guess that level 1 and 2, you can probably obtain it while you're confusing it with drive. You know, you have some drive and the dog is not giving up. I'll give you a perfect example of that part. Texas, Santa Fe, Texas, a rainy day, they're having a dog show at the house of Jerry Wally. You know, it used to be used to be called Dead Serious Kennels in Texas. Pretty tough guys. And I couldn't go to work. I couldn't go to that event that day, although I wanted to go, and I had to go to work. And so my son said, I want to go. He was an 11-year-old boy. No, he was a 10-year-old boy. And he pushed it. And I told his mama, I said, listen, you got to take him to that event. And they just picked up dogs we had in the house. One of them was Old Cheyenne, the mother of Awesome Buck, Cheyenne Ron. And the other one was Awesome Buck and some of the dogs that I had of a mean stuff. And they went driving at maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hour drive. It was raining. And I remember they calling me and telling me how they were winning the weight pulling contest. You know, they already went and done the weight pulling contest. Awesome Buck was ahead of everybody by miles. I mean, 120-pound dogs, big, mastiff looking, bully type of looking dogs. You know, people didn't have the definition clear in their head back in those days. I'm talking about 2002, maybe 2003. And he was out pulling everybody. Maybe 2004. He was out pulling everybody. And, the more pulls you do, the more tired you get. And they scale the dogs before they do weight pulling. Awesome Buck was always in some sort of walking shape, and he scaled at 50 pounds. And, it was a fun show. And the guys that had the macho buck dog show up with a 56-pound macho buck dog. And he didn't do all the pullings that Awesome Buck had done. And they went in and started doing the weight pulling. And, the dog was fresh. But he ran into a moment where Macho Buck actually said no. Don't want to pull no more against a smaller dog. And they were already at the very top. Awesome Buck was already very tired. And when Macho Buck stopped on the tracks, he said, I'm not pulling anymore. These guys, one of the people in the crowd was eating chicken. And of course, it was a fun time. He would be disqualified in today's rules, so even if it makes sense. And they showed him the chicken, and he was a bigger dog, and he was a powerful dog. And because of the chicken, he ended up pulling it was a 200-pound weight. He pulled one extra over Awesome Buck. Now, keep in mind, he only did 2 or 3 pulls, that's it. And Awesome Buck was pulling from before. And it was a little boy. So the little boy pulled out an umbrella and started pulling with Awesome Buck. Pa, pa. And Awesome Buck was pulling, and then the blood was coming out of his paws because he already burned his paws on the carpet. And he was screaming to get to finish pulling, and he couldn't pull and he was short on pulling the same amount of weight. So there were two trophies. One, it was most weight pulled. That was given to Macho Buck. Cheating with a chicken, he stood on the tracks. He didn't have the will on his own to do it. He needed had the extra push. And there were three stooges helping him to pull. And with Awesome Buck was a little boy, 10-year-old boy, pushing him, and Awesome Buck was giving everything to the point he had bleeding paws, None of the dogs were trained for weight pulling contests or anything like that. These are game dogs. But the thing about it is the drive and how Awesome Buck will give so much more. So
Awesome Buck Winwood.
Awesome Buck won a trophy. There were two equal-sized trophies. Awesome Buck won most weight pulled per body weight. In other words, pound per pound, he was the better dog. He pulled more. But they showed the display, and this is writing. Somebody wrote, two of the guys that went to the show wrote stories about to see the smaller dogs screaming and with bleeding paws coming, pushing the load. And he ended up pushing it across. He just ran out of time. And he was tired, had a long day because they start pulling him from the very beginning. And there was a display of somebody will sell a little bit of gameness, right? But Awesome Buck's gameness was proven by other ways. And talking about 2000s and so, the level of competition that both went into. Macho Buck went into one champion, that's it. Awesome Buck went into 2-time winners and all 4-time winners. And it made a huge difference. You understand? Awesome Buck it was actually proven to be game. You understand? He was proven. He got a trophy for it out of 5 referees called Gameness show. We're talking about history here. Okay, you ask me a question.
That's the drive part.
That's the drive part. So people confuse that part. But when it comes to really being game, it can only be proven. Gameness cannot be proven only by activities, alternative activities. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, that the real gameness of both the dogs got proven with a dog that was screaming in the corner no matter what against a dog that actually, will pick up his head, take a few pictures around. You understand? It's a huge difference. And then there is this what I call the gameness that actually has a meaningful thing that you can transfer. You look at the records on production records. One dog got bred so many times, and one dog got bred just a handful of times. One produced similar game dogs just like him. The ability to produce this gameness and pass it down the line. You understand? That's a very important thing. You might have a game dog that cannot pass on this to the offsprings. Look at Macho Buck, never produced a single grand champion. Look at Awesome Buck, 1 leader, 2 grand champions. 2 champions, the same leader, and continues to produce these amazing great dogs, generations after generation, where he is the catalytic difference. I give you a perfect example: the dogs of a champion mechanic. We got so many, over 30 dogs that were not good. The moment you put that Awesome Buck in it, where you call it a mechanic buck, automatically it's like a brand new spring of greatness that happens. Mechanic Buck produces champion Pichenka. He's a global champion, produced global champion Pichenka, produced champion Atos, and all these great dogs. He continues to produce because it's a game that's deep inside this dog in a way that is genetically put inside the dog. So
gameness comes in levels.
So gameness, this is the lesson here in a short thing. Gameness do come in levels. Okay, gameness can only be tested in the highest level of gameness. You cannot test these on jumping walls and weight pulling and let's see if we can run the treadmill. Can't do that. Can only be proven the all way, that level of gameness. At some level, and using game dogs, they have blood from the game dog. You can, that's a perfect example. That's like the most vivid. Both dogs had different levels. They were cousins, by the way. Awesome Buck was born first, like the original dog, and Macho Buck was like the imitation that, it was born after. And I had a problem. Why you named the dog in such a similar way? You understand? I had a problem from the very beginning. You can't name your dog very similar to mine. They're cousins. You understand? But then again, you compare Macho one-time winner with 357. There's huge miles away from Macho and 357. I mean, Macho was so superior. And then Macho against Cheyenne, we're looking at the pedigree. There's miles and miles away a dog like Macho that she was actually marked as a not good dog versus Cheyenne, which was a completely game animal. You understand? And one became a Ram, the other one they didn't become a Ram. Macho is a Ram dog, Macho one-time winner Ram dog. Awesome Buck, he became Ram in 1 liter. I mean, there's difference in quality. Now, of course, the regular guy doesn't have the ability to be able to see that. But on that show, and that's why I mentioned that show about weight pulling, that show of these two dogs, two different weights, both of them got the trophies. By the way, this is very curious. The same day of that weight pulling, there was a weight pulling of females. Biggest female was 82 pounds or 76 pounds, something like that. Can't remember 100% now. It was such a long time ago. And then Cheyenne was 43, 44 pounds, okay, of the chain. And she got both trophies. Most weight pulled and how do you call it? Most weight pull per pound. Actually, that most weight pull per pound, that trophy was designed for the little dog that will weight pull, and let's say he pulled 1 pound, and he was way smaller, and he pulled this dog. That's the biggest trophy to take because that's the pound per pound weight pulling. You understand? And Awesome Buck took it. Cheyenne took it and took the other one as well. Awesome Buck didn't stop on the tracks, waiting for somebody to give him some chicken. Awesome Buck was just a tremendous animal. And so when it comes to gameness, that's why gameness to me is Awesome Buck is a transcendent gameness that you can pass on to his sons, to his grandsons. Now, gameness cannot be confused with being aggressive. A lot of people say, no. Gameness is not aggression. Gameness is not aggression. Gameness is something totally different. You understand?
The same way that people trying to see gameness in humans outside of these.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like let's say you got a guy, right? Like this Anthony Smith, right? Mm-hmm. And his teeth are falling on the floor, and he's picking his teeth and giving them to the referee, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes.
To the referee. And so when it comes to this Anthony Smith, we can only find out that level of gameness and Anthony Smith is verified, is checked because of that experience. Before that, how much he worked out, that's called dedication. How much he gave to himself, that has a little bit level of gameness. Like I said, comes in levels, right? Once you get to some level, and then there's guys that, they present, back in the day, dogs that present gameness one time only. And that's the importance of going into a champion versus going into 4 champions. There's dogs that before they used to call him, say, he went to the whale too many times. The dog will go one time, and the next time he wouldn't go anymore. Talking about touching history here. That's all I'm doing. The dogs will go one time, and after that, it's like, okay, I didn't like the experience I had the last time. I'm going to hang up the gloves right now. But these dogs, in the past, so we can understand the word gameness, these dogs that were able to do it every time after time, face adversity. And this is the stuff that is in the blood. And these epigenetics that affect these dogs, that makes them better, that makes it strong. And if you understand, you study this, how this gets passed on into the offsprings, because the how do you call it, the genetic code gets modified. That the better the dog gets into that activity back then, of those times, the better the dog got, the more ability the dog had to pass on this to his offspring. Of course, there were always the low-level people that are like, oh yeah, but I'll take the dog that didn't work out, because even dogs that don't work out. But this is low-level mentality. High-level mentality will understand that the more the dog went deep into that dark places, back in the days, and they'll go back into those dark places, the more the blood will become stronger through the genetic modification and make the dog better and better and better, and then you pass on these his offsprings. Now, being a game dog, a real American Pit Bull Terrier, it only meant that you had a dog that was something inside his blood that he was going to influence the owner, influence the children, influence everybody, and make the whole family and everyone stronger, because he was a sweet dog. In my case, we bred dogs back then that were loving, and we still do today when we put our dogs as pet dogs to people. They have this ability to love the humans in such a way and be the love that is unconditional. You understand? And respect. So you got an animal that is physically gifted because of the development of the structure and everything else that come into the more athletic animal. And then you got also the dog that is actually willing to go to whatever levels it takes, giving his life, don't matter. You understand? Never give up, never surrender, be stronger. And that dog has that in his blood, and he passes on to his spring. Now, eventually, with time, that gets lost, that activity is gone. So if the question is, will be able to preserve a dog with alternative activities? No, he will be gone, period. That's why I said the American Pit Bull Terrier will be gone. It's gone. Basically, it's gone. And why it's gone is because the activity is gone. At that level of activity, because there's levels in the activity. What the American people were doing in America 2020, those low-level doggers, pretenders, dog fighters, that's completely garbage. Those guys cannot, they don't have the right blood, they don't have the right understanding, they don't have all the things that they used to have, the men of the past. These are the imitation, the copycats, the watered downs, the pretenders, and as a community, they don't have anything that will sustain them for the future. So when the last DOGMANs, the last real DOGMANs, stop that activity and stop providing dogs to those guys, it's gone, it's finished. In my case, my dogs are 1,000% going, and this is what I work for, strictly to great people, doctors, engineers, school principals, school teachers, great humans that can enjoy these, and this real American dog, which represents the American eagle, basically in a canine form. And these dog
they represent the warrior.
The warrior in the American people, the warrior that create America, the warrior that build us, entrepreneurs that build America, the work building everything. It represents the best into the African American people, the best in the Indian people, the best into the Latinos, the best in the white people, the best of the Asian people, the best of everything that makes America.
There is no way. If some people can say, in hunting, the smaller dog or a dog can go into a hog that is bigger, but there is no way. We are talking about two different animals. There is no comparison. Actually, there is no comparison between a doggo and a hog interaction than a dog versus another dog in their best shape possible, in the best how do you say, smart dog versus smart dog. There is no comparison. There is some levels of gameness when it comes to hunting, or when it comes to like Jack Terriers hunting foxes and doggos hunting hogs, but there is no way you can compare two dogs at the highest level of their ability.
Gram by gram, gram versus gram, the very best of it, gram versus gram, cannot be possible. And even in roosters, which roosters can show dead gameness, the difference in most roosters in dead gameness, when it comes to the rooster is willing to die to win, right? Very admirable. Only the males. When you came to the dogs back in the days, back in the old times, it was the males and females that were influencing the dog. But there was a connection between the man and the dog. There was an amazing, unbreakable connection between that man that raised that dog, that raised their great grandparents, that raised everything. That was his bloodline. Some stranger that comes in and buy a dog from this man will never have the same appreciation. That man was a special man. That man was called the elite level dogman. He bred and raised those for 30 years plus. That were his bloodline. He knew how these dogs will do worldwide, and he's seen them on the bottom being the underdog and being the favorite and everything, and that created that connection. So because the rooster cannot have this connection with the human as much as the dog has with the man, that connection between man and dog created this love of the dog for the man. And this epigenetics, this interaction, when he went to the next generation, that dog will produce puppies that will love the handler, that will love that man. So there were two pillars that were being built on that particular breed. They were the pillars of the dog that had relentlessness, will never give up, will never surrender. Win is the only thing that matters, even if I have to die. And the other thing is, I love my owner to the death. I love this child. I will protect this child. I will be with him. And that child will get all the love, but he also senses this powerful thing inside this blood of this animal that'll give the kid the understanding of when you're walking, when you're playing, we're not giving up. We're going to continue. You're not going to surrender. Those kids that are bullying you in the school, they don't mean anything. You bigger, you stronger. You got to be like me. You understand?
You can be the underdog.
You can be the underdog and still win. You can be the underdog and still win. You know, I remember a case back in Texas, talking about, 1999 at the time. We had a Mexican family, was our neighbor, and they were very nice people, one of the nicest people. Mexican people are just amazing as neighbors. And there was an older kid, older than my son, and he used to try to bully him in school, because my son just came in from New York at the time, and he was trying to bully him in school, right? And my son said, "I'll beat you up," and they went into a fight. You understand? And the kid, there was a group of them, and the other kid was they wouldn't accept them being from New York. That was Texas, and Texas is like that. Texas, you're going to contour. And so my son told him, he says, "You play games with me, I'm going to feed your dog to my cat. Your cat to my dog." And I see these kids, getting off the bus right up in the corner, running. I see my son passing right by. He goes inside the
neighbor's house.
The neighbor's house, grab the cat, and then put it on John. I was like, "Man, how do you do that?" And he said, "Man, this guy was bullying me. I'm not gonna let this guy do this to me." And I wouldn't approve what he did with the cat, but he just showed me that this dog had given my son an understanding that I'm going to be with you and nobody going to bully you. My son, nobody could bully him.
The mentality of
nobody could bully him. He's so strong-minded. It's amazing. You understand? I mean, when he came here to Brazil, and we had him here for 4 months or something like that, and he was working on construction here at the quarry and doing all the work he was doing. Everybody's like, "Man, this kid, it's the first one to be here, 5 in the morning, and the last one to leave, and he's always working and pushing the team." I mean, some guys in the team wanted to quit because he was pushing them too hard. That's how life is.
So let's resume our video. There are levels of gameness.
There's levels of gameness, and the real gameness at the very top of the level cannot be acquired if it's not through the way the gameness, the battle dogs back in the days, back in started very heavy duty in the 70s. He really polished in the 80s, and it became the golden era between the 80s and 2010 maximum. Right there, everything, talking about 10 years ago, it started going down.
And then there is no way you can compare hunting.
You cannot. We already went over that. You cannot do that.
And you cannot compare with other exercises.
Nothing. Listen, I'll try to tell you. A guy like Anthony Smith, you understand? He's training, he's working out, he's pushing himself to the maximum. Okay, you can only find out how other guys are doing the same thing, and they tap out. You understand? On this occasion, this guy didn't tap out like that. You understand? Mm-hmm. So, look, I look at Royce Gracie when it comes to human gameness. Royce Gracie, to me, is like the north to human gameness in jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, But we don't compare to the dogs, just so you know. We as humans are so far away from the dogs. We are inferior creatures when it comes to gameness. The dogs these real elite level, global level American Pit Bull Terriers are above any level of human can it have. I can only think about one guy, uh, SEAL Marine, Michael Thornton. He won the maximum award by the president, um, Medal of Honor for his work in, I think it was Vietnam, and he was wounded. He went back to get his teammate, platoon mate, and he was being shot while he was bringing him. His friend had lost the limbs, I think it is, and he brought him into the boat, saved his life, and he got shot in the back. He got shot all over. He was tired, and he was. That's close to what a dog is. Close to an elite dog. An elite dog will be even in higher levels because the elite dog will go to places where he's already maybe blind and he still wants to go. You understand? And he's still going, and he dies doing it. So if you don't die doing it, you basically get close to it, but you're not at the level. It's a very sensitive topic for some people, and of course, because different men, different times. It is sensitive for the people of the 220s going forward, a little softer. They were raised in a different environment, but their great grandparents wouldn't have no problem with the topic.
The men that went to war.
The men that went to battle, that understood this, they had this. But these guys that were raised by Walt Disney, by the PlayStation and the Xbox, they're a little softer. You understand? They're a little bit softer. There's a little bit more ice cream in the mix. So with that being said, I answer your question. I got things to do. I got to go. Bye-bye.
chico-lopez.com.
chico-lopez.com. That's correct. Let me go to work. Bye.